Welcome to the Big Roofs podcast where we talk about all things roofing. We're your hosts, John and AJ. Let's jump in. John, what is something that you're really excited about right now from the last week? What's something that's got you excited?
I am super excited about our new team member, Clay, for Savannah. Someone's just a super likable guy, very teachable, been in the construction industry for a long time, not roofing, but just a solid guy. And that's my biggest win because it's we're gonna have somebody who's really focused on pushing and growing in this market.
Have you introduced him to ProLine yet?
I have not, but I talked about the process that we have, and he's kind of blown away because he's never, I mean, most people have never experienced something like that. Um, and he's really like, I'm looking forward to it because we're gonna do some work. You're gonna do some work for our pro line this week, which is we're super excited about. And yeah, he's gonna probably lose his mind because he just gets to focus on the things that he's really passionate about, which is, business development.
Actually talking to the customer.
Yep.
Not have to worry about all the other nitty gritty stuff that ProLine automates. Cool. Well, so last week for me, um, on Sunday, was it Sunday? I think it was Sunday. I found a new hike in Atlanta that I went on, and with my beautiful girlfriend Sydney, and it was like a perfect hike. It was like 5.5 miles, really nice length, really good inclines, and it's like 20 minutes outside Atlanta. I had never heard of it before. Neither of us had heard of it before. So it's our new favorite spot. So it's always exciting to find if you like hiking, it's always exciting to find another good spot close to you.
What's the hike, the
I,
trail
I'm
called?
I'm not letting anyone know because it was like no one there and it was great.
People are gonna come back and listen to this episode. What was that hike?
It was it was close to Pine Mountain. There's like Red Top Mountain and Pine Mountain, which are big hiking spots, and then there's another mountain there that's in between. People can look it up and they'll find it.
I
But
used to get in all the forums, like the all those forums, being like, "Don't ever tell anyone about this." Like you're telling people
yes,
right now.
as soon as a bunch of people go there, too many people go there. I mean, Pine Mountain's really popular, and so is Red Top. So and that's fine. Those are nice hikes, but it's nice to kind of get out there, and it's kind of fun to like not. You got to look for the trail markers because the trail is just a little tiny path through some leaves. So
Yep, yep. Not like Panther Creek, where every Boy Scout troop in the entire world goes.
Panther Creek is that Athens or is that here
It's
or is
north of
Savannah?
Atlanta.
That's in
It's on 441, so like it's
where
still
one.
pretty close to Atlanta.
I think yeah. I don't really get over to that
It's a
side.
good hike. It's definitely worth doing, but it's not it's highly trafficked. If you go during the week, it'll be great. Nobody will be there. But
Yeah,
every boy there's awesome waterfalls and like it's just a really good hike.
cool. We'll have to check that out. All right, well let's jump in. The topic we're gonna at least start off with today. We're gonna talk about niching in construction and home services. So some companies they go towards the route of just, whatever the customer asks for, we're going to provide. So they'll have a list of 10, 20 different services they offer. Um, and that's the way they want to do business. Other companies want to focus in on just one service or one service and maybe some add-ons, so like just roofing and then gutters or something like that, or just windows and doors. So, companies it's a pretty big difference in how those businesses are run. But can you break down, maybe give some insight on why is it that companies would go either way? What's the thought process here?
There's definitely successful people that do a lot like multiple services, but I think for the most part, most people should niche down to one or two services. It makes the most sense from a logistical perspective, from process perspective, from a staffing perspective, like um, being excellent at every part of that thing is really hard to do when you have 10 services or even five services. It makes the most sense in every sense of the word to niche. The riches are in the niches when you do that because you're able to provide a better customer experience, be a true professional, and really just set yourself apart in that particular niche.
Let me play devil's advocate on this. So you're saying it's really important to just focus in on one thing. Maybe that's roofing, maybe that's something else.
I
Um,
think it's one or two. If we're talking about roofing contractors,
let's
most
talk about
people
roofing specifically for a moment.
okay.
Yeah.
Gutters are
So
going to be the other thing. Gutters are what everybody should be offering probably because they're going to, if for insurance guys, they're going to get paid for. So you should do gutters too. And even for retail, like what we do, people just like that look. They got this new roof and the old gutters. So I would say roofing and gutters are kind of like the baseline.
okay. And then I see a lot of guys that specifically in roofing, they do roofing, gutters, and then sometimes siding as well. What do you think about
Mm.
siding?
Yeah, I think it depends on the market. Because in siding costs a lot more for the homeowner. It takes a lot longer time to actually replace siding. Um, yeah, it's good, but you have to have the right market. Really, the income level in that market needs to be pretty high,
Where to
because
be with it?
it's very expensive. Usually, it's almost always way more expensive to replace siding than it is to the roof.
Yeah, I was not aware of that. So, but I'm guessing is the margins not as good, or is it about the same, or how does that? Is it just that it's a longer job, so there's more risk?
So we've done complete siding jobs before. We've done, siding in dormers, siding in like, small siding stuff, but we've also done complete siding jobs and we had really proficient siding crew. And I was like, why this is going to take 4 days to do this siding or 5 days to do siding. And the dollars just didn't, the margins are just lower. You can't charge. If you're doing a roof in one day and let's call it $15,000, typically people are not going to pay $75,000 to have their siding replaced. So that's 5 days of work as opposed to one day of work. So you're going to have lower margins on siding. That's my experience, at least.
Gotcha.
Um, that's the reason why I think siding doesn't make sense for a lot of people.
What about windows? Like if you're a roofer, what do you think about adding windows to your list of services?
I think it's more of we've also done a lot of windows. We used to do everything. So
Yeah, you
windows
used to be
can be
Delaurier roofing and renovation.
yeah, we were Delaurier Roofing and Renovation before Delaurier Roofing and now Peach State Roofing. So it's windows can be very profitable. It's a very similar transaction to roofing in that it's a one-off high ticket item. The difference between windows is that the customer typically wants the windows. They're not doing it, it's usually on an insurance claim. It's usually like a luxury item. So I tend to not like to attach myself to things that are want services and more need services. That's another reason why I would hesitate to enter the window. I know a lot of guys who are really successful windows, and then when the economy turns, they go from, a few $1 million of windows to zero
Hmm.
in overnight. So it's not a bad thing. I like the model. I just think it's typically I think you need to do windows indoors if you're doing that. You need to have really the skill level is super high too. You have to have really high level guys to do that correctly. Otherwise it leaks and doesn't, or the windows don't open or the doors don't open and close. So there's all those reasons.
Hmm. So it's tough, but it can work, but it's just tough because of those reasons.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me play devil's advocate here. So if I'm a roofing contractor and um you're saying, hey, you should really just niche down, just do roofing, maybe siding if it makes sense in your market, and gutters, and then like probably not windows and doors, but something you can look at, but is some risk involved and it's a lot tougher. Um, Now, what if I say, yeah, but when I'm selling roofs, when I'm out there selling to homeowners, they are also wanting to get these services done. They're wanting to do their whole exterior of their home, get it all handled. And so it's a it's really hard for me to just sell them the roof because in the homeowner's mind, they're saying, "Oh, I just want one guy to do it." And so if you can't do it all, I'm just going to go talk to everybody else. I'm not interested in talking to you if you're only going to talk to me about my roof or about my
Yeah.
roof and gutters. What do you say if I'm in that scenario?
All right. So we've definitely won jobs in the past because the customer specifically said they wanted all their fascia replaced because they knew their fascia was rotten and they didn't want to do like small repairs. So we won jobs because we offered that extra service to like one of our largest competitors who just refused to do it. So there is something to be said about like offering the extra thing, but you have to be really strategic. You have to have the right crews in place. You can't just throw your, most people cannot just throw the same guys that do roofing and do a really good fascia repair or fascia replacement. So again, it comes back to staffing and being professional and like just selling a job doesn't mean you can actually produce the job correctly. They are two different skill sets. And my main roofing crew that I've been with for 10 years, he's an awesome dude. He can do lots of things. He's done lots of things for his house. He makes a lot of money doing roofing. But he would tell me, hey man, we need a trim carpenter out here to do the fascia. So I if you can do it in certain circumstances, it's fine. But you really it's just again, it goes back to processes and staffing. Like it's not a bad thing to offer, but you really need to have the right people in place.
Got it. Okay. What about so there is something to be said for that. It's sort of a balance thing. It's like a pro con. Pros
Yeah.
being maybe close a few more jobs, but cons, we kind of talked about the cons. What about if my thought process is, well, my market's small. I'm a small company, and if I don't offer all these different services, I can't make enough money off each sale that I make to run my business. So when I sell a homeowner, I need to sell them a roof, the doors, the windows, their kitchen, their flooring. I need to sell them as many different things as possible because I don't have that many sales. I don't have that many uh, homeowners that I close, so I need to capitalize on each one. I'm just
I
playing devil's
think
advocate here.
no, it's a good argument that a lot of guys have. I have seen so many guys who have way bigger businesses than I do in super small markets. So I don't think that holds a lot of weight. I understand when people say that. I get it. They need to increase their average contract size or average ticket size. I get it. They need to make money. There's a couple things that are wrong with that though. You need to make money on everything that you do. And it needs to be the highest margin that you can make on any service that you provide. You can't just say, I'm going to make 15% profit on this and this and this and this, and you'll be okay. You won't be okay. One bad thing will happen and you'll lose all your profit. You have to be one of the highest profit margin companies in your market. That should be the goal for every roofing contractor listening.
In
If you
order
think that's
to what's the advantages to being the highest profit? We've talked about this before, but
sure,
why should they be the highest profit margin roof contractor in their market? What's the advantage to them, and what's the advantage to their customer?
okay, the customer gets better crew, better service, better support staff, better warranties. Everything about the customer journey experience, whatever you want to call it, is going to be better because all the people involved are going to get paid better, and all the processes are going to be like you can afford a catch-all, so you're going to protect their grandmother's roses. Like you're going to have insurance because you're charging the correct amount for profit margins. You'll have insurance to protect the homeowner. From the contractor side, it's better to be one of the highest priced contractors because essentially you can do less work to make more money. So you can be more efficient and have less liability in your business and have more profit dollars left over. That's very, very simple. It sounds easy when you say it, but it's how I built my business. I'm much, quote, smaller than most people that I'm around in my industry, but I make sometimes 3 times the profit that other people will be doing for the same job. It's it's not it's very simple math. I'm a simple-minded person when it comes to that. I'm going to make the most profit I can to give the customer the best experience. And our company has taken on that liability of that job. We are responsible for protecting that home now. So we need to have the appropriate profit that is associated with that commitment.
Makes sense. That makes sense. Let's kind of go over um so yeah, so I guess the one of the biggest risks here is if you're selling five different services to a homeowner, it's really, really hard to control the profit across all of those services. Is that kind of number one? Like it's really hard. Is it a why is that? Is it a quoting issue? Is it just that you open yourself up to more liability the more different services you're offering? Is it just the complexity? What is the reason why it's so hard to maintain a good profit margin when you're doing multiple services?
The longer you're at someone's house, I'll say this, the longer you are at someone's house, the less profitable you will be as far as margin goes.
Is that because more bad
Even
things happen?
more bad things happen, and the customer doesn't want you there. The customer wants their job done. They want to experience the result of what you're offering. This is one reason why a lot of remodelers have such a difficult time. They never get reviews because the homeowner may love them throughout the whole process and even they like them at the end, but there's so many things wrong because they've been there for a month. If you've been at someone's house longer than 24 hours, then there is a problem in my mind. I don't, every job that we've done that's been longer than a 1 day job, there's been something. We'll still get a review, but there's always something we have to fight so hard. Give something because they assume that like, okay, HVAC goes out while we're there. We had nothing to do with that, but we're
Mm.
gonna pay to maintain the customer experience. We're gonna pay an emergency HVAC company to come out and make sure the HVAC works again.
Because in the homeowner's mind, they're like,
You're
roofer's
here,
here,
they
a
messed it up.
trucks are
Yep.
everywhere, stuff is everywhere. My AC is not working. It has to be their fault.
It couldn't possibly be that their 25-year-old roof and their 25-year-old HVAC goes out at the same time. Like it's so like I hold true to that very, very strongly. And I think most people listening would agree. The shorter the job, the higher the profit margin, the better chance to get the review, the better customer experience. The customer really doesn't want you there. They just don't care about you being there. They want their job done and their home clean. And so that's another reason why doing multiple services doesn't really make sense for most people. It's way harder to get the review. You can, I mean, there's some people that I'm thinking about right now that do multiple services in a really high level way, and they love it. They make a bunch of money, but they have a very, very complex process. They have all the right staff, they have the right crews for the right services. It's a, it's really, really high level stuff.
Um, One of the issues that we've seen with it's not an issue per se, it's just a challenge when it comes to offering a lot of services. I just want to get your thoughts on it. Is ProLine users that have a lot of services are often struggling with the quoting side because it is so much work to set up even one quote for one service, and then they'll have if they have 5, 10 services. Um, I mean, is there any shortcuts, possible shortcuts there? Like if you have another service, and this is kind of redundant, but is if you have another service you want to offer, like fascia, um,
The fascia, yeah, the fascia
fascia,
board
that
and soffit,
that
yeah.
word like suddenly like didn't make any sense in my mind. The like, is it ever? Can you take? Is it is there any way to take a shortcut on the quoting and just sort of like work the number to keep it simple rather than having to have a whole quoting section just for that? I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it does.
Do
I
you
kind
ever
of knew
take
that.
short
I
do you
knew
ever
where you're
have
going with this. I knew where you're going with this based on just like some of our new customers and helping them understand the complexity of why it's important. I just made a video that we'll post later on like protecting your profit margin. And one of the things was make sure your measurements are super, super accurate and make sure that your quoting system, whatever it is, if it's pen and paper, I don't care what it it's incredibly accurate. That's how you protect your profit. And people don't realize that you can't just choose something how you feel. Oh, I think it's this price per square. No, you can't do that. This is why you don't make money. If you do that, this is why you don't make any money. Well, I know it's roughly this, and I've done that for years. I am not a detailed person. I do not like details. I do not like that's why I have a team that helps me stay focused on the details. That's how you protect your profit the most. That's how you make the most profit because you also give your sales staff confidence to understand this is why this costs this much money because of all these details that goes into it. So when you're
Yeah.
writing the estimate, you're going through all these details to make sure that the job's priced correctly. Ironically, I just made a video for my team about our new proposal through ProLine, and I rewatched the video and I made two mistakes. That just shows you like they're small mistakes. Here what the mistakes were. I didn't remove an item, which would, and we needed to replace it with something else. I didn't also add other ventilation in there that we didn't have enough surface area for. So not only are we gonna, and then I sent the quote. I already sent the quote in real life on the on the actual video. You have to be detail oriented. Those like $200 deals, those $50 deals, they add up. If you're doing $100 difference on 100 roofs, it's $10,000 of profit.
That you
Like,
either lost or gained accidentally.
yeah,
But
it's
you probably
true.
also lost jobs because you overbid if you're on
That's
that end of
correct.
things. Yeah.
That's right.
So
So to
there's
answer your
no short, you're
question,
saying there's no shortcut. You have to
I
be
don't
just
think
be
so.
detail oriented.
I don't think so. I don't think there's a shortcut. I think whether you're writing on pen and paper or using some fancy software, you need to be detail oriented on every service that you offer. There are some like slight advantages to doing multiple because you'll have like if you order Eagle View, you can order walls while you're already there. So the process is in place to order roof and walls. So then you can do siding estimate kind of quickly. But you still have to go through the process of writing the siding estimate. It's completely different than roofing. So I don't know. Some people have a really efficient way to do it. I think you need to be more detail oriented. We all do to maintain our profit.
Makes sense. Makes sense. So let's kind of go back and review. Um, there are some, can we agree that there are some advantages, some pros to offering a lot of different services? Like there's obviously cons, but like, can we agree there's some pros? So like if you're offering a lot of different services, it might be, you might be able to close some jobs that your competitors can't close because homeowners want it all from one person, right?
Yep.
And you might be able to you might be able to increase your average ticket value per customer, right? So those are
I think that
pros.
you can create your I think that that's somewhat true
Okay, so
because you're devaluing each one of the services.
by trying to bundle it.
Yes.
Okay,
I think you're again, we talk about revenue versus profit.
so
Yes, there's certain homeowners that want that. I don't see it as an actual pro to sell a job to a customer who wants you to do multiple services. This is why. Because they expect you to commoditize each one of those services. So
mm,
as opposed to specialize in roofing and specialize in painting and specialize in siding and specialize in windows, they're in that type of customer intentionally is looking for somebody who is just jack of all trades, whether or not you have a great brand and great website or whatever. They expect you to say, well, while you're here, can you take 10% off the siding? And while you're here, can you take 10% off the windows? It doesn't work like
mm.
that. It doesn't, they're different crews, different material, everything. This is why it doesn't make sense in my mind. It doesn't actually, you don't actually make any more money. Your ticket is larger, but you're not making any more profit.
So in many cases, you would say that A, you're not going to sell the good customers because the good customers want the specialists in each area because they actually value getting the job done right. And then also the people that are not wanting the specialist, they want the jack of all trades. Those people are also the cheaper customers. So you're probably going to have to work them discounts. They're in their mind, they're going to be like, oh, you're doing five things for me. I want a discount on each one of them.
Yep.
So you that those two things. so those can be advantages, those pros of like closing more jobs and having a higher ticket value, but it's also possible that they completely just get offset by the fact that you're getting a different type of customer that is looking for a deal, and you're losing cut. Like, would you say it's safe to say that there are, when you pitch that way, when you're saying, hey, we do all these different things, there is going to be homeowners that just say, "There's no way these people are good at each one of these. I'm not going to work with them." You're
Yeah,
probably losing jobs because of that, right?
yeah, you're taking away the specialization and the confidence and the trust from that person because there's no how many people do you have working for you? And then so the two things happen. They either think you're not an excellent, you don't have excellent crews. That's one thing. Or they're gonna think you're too high. Your price is too high. You have 50 people working for you, and I'm paying for these 50 people. I don't want to do that. Like it totally defeats the purpose in all forms and fashion.
Hmm.
Like this is why I see a lot of custom home builders who are essentially doing this. They have all these crews that work for them. They just don't make that much money.
Hmm.
I know them. I know them personally, and they're telling me what they're making on these like $1 million+ homes even with cost plus, it all sounds great. But at the end of the day, the homeowner gets pissed. They don't pay their bill. There's so many reasons going back to what I said in the beginning. You're there for longer than one day.
Yeah.
They start to hate you.
So we have our pros, but those aren't even looking that great
I
right
just
now.
don't think that there's that. I don't think there's a
With
pro.
the cons,
I
let's go over the cons though. So there's not really a pro, but there's those are the closest thing we have to pros. So then, but we have our cons, which is really hard to protect profit, right? Really hard to protect profit, hard to accurately quote in general when you're doing that many different services. Um, with the longer you're at someone's house, the more things go wrong, right? Or longer you're at a job site. So you want to minimize your time on a job site. What else? What are the other cons here?
those are pretty good ones. That's
Those are,
enough for me.
I mean, yeah, that's fair. That's fair. So we have two pros that may not actually be pros, but they may feel like pros.
That's
But
a great way to describe it. That's a
in the
great way to
reality,
describe it.
you may feel
Yeah,
that you have an advantage offering all those services, but I guess it could depend on the market, right? But
sure.
it's gonna be different every market. But it's very possible that that's an illusion. There's actually no advantage whatsoever. And then there's three clear cons. Um, so yeah, I think that's good. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I'm missing. I'm trying to play devil's advocate here. Um, and think about, I guess maybe one of the other things I might bring up is what if I'm truly a general contractor? So my thing is, I think you brought up home builders. So it's like, hey, we don't actually do any of the work ourselves. Like we're upfront with that with customers. Our thing is that we're going to help you design the property that you want, the outcome that you want, and then we're going to oversee hiring all of the subcontractors that are going to do the work. I feel like it's a very different business model than just being a contractor that focuses on a specific service. So I don't know how much experience you have with that, but I feel like, does that model work? Like, can you make that model work and be profitable with that model? And in that scenario where you're truly just a GC or a home builder, does it um, does it make sense in that environment? Or in your
I
opinion,
mean,
is
I
that
have
just
been
not a
that.
good
I have
model?
been that before. I have run.
You
I've like done
you
major
went that direction.
renovations. Yeah, I've done major renovations just like that. You know, very, very significant time number of trades. I just think that if your goal is to make profit and to have more free time and to have less stress, focus on one thing. That model works because those guys, it seems like those guys don't understand the retail model of home services. They just don't get it. I talked to them about it. They're like, how do you make this work? Don't because I would give them bids in the beginning, like bids, not proposals. And like, I'm never gonna tell that customer I'm gonna charge that much money for this. I'm like, okay, well then get two guys to go out there and throw some shingles on the roof on your $1 million house. It's not us.
Yeah.
We provide, I mean, it's just it's a totally different world.
Mm,
I think I think there's some pride. to those custom home builders like GCs like that, they have a sense of pride. They've done a big thing, but there is not a lot of profit. And I'm putting that on a shirt. There's pride, but there's not profit because if
Pride does not equal profit.
yeah,
It's a good shirt.
dude, I'm telling you, if you're listening to this and you're like, well, our gross profit's 25%, you need to raise it. If your profit is 20%, I've heard some people like 18%, like, okay, stop doing that. We're specialty contractors need to be 35 to 40% and up. I don't care what market you're in. And because the most a GC can hope for is like cost plus 20. And they're most of them are not even getting that. So they're getting on $1 million job, they're getting paid $200,000 to
Yeah.
spend to be there for 9 months.
Yeah. To oversee the whole thing.
There's value to what they bring. They bring value to that homeowner. They do. I don't discount what they bring because they know the guys, they know how to put all the pieces together to build a home. There's a knowledge base they have. But truthfully, they don't get paid that much money. Like they're always like, "Oh,
Yeah.
we're so blessed." Are you really? You're spending your entire year on two houses, and I'm going to make more money than you and my little tiny roofing business. That
Yeah.
doesn't, and I have more free time than you. You have these homeowners are not happy with you all the time. You have to constantly be on the phone with them all the time. Like it's just not, you're basically their therapist for a year. I'm glad we're talking about this because this is exactly, I've painfully experienced this. And I think that if you're listening or watching this, I just can't stress enough. Don't do everything. Pick a thing and do it really well. Pick one or two things and do it really well.
Yeah. That totally makes sense. I wonder also if maybe the GC model makes a lot more sense at a large scale. So if you're working on a massive commercial projects or even home development, like in whole residential developments, like where you're working on 100 homes, like at that scale, I feel like that might make more sense. Maybe still a very stressful life, and maybe that's what some people want to do. It's I mean, I don't maybe agree or disagree, but I feel like as you scale it down to an individual home level is when it starts making less and less sense. Like
Correct.
either you're doing massive projects and so that even, maybe the project's $100 million project, but you'll walk away with 10 million and you'll work on it for 3 years, right? Like that could make sense. But then if you scale it down to just an individual home where you're working with you're not working with investors, you're not working with a big corporation, you're just working with a homeowner that doesn't quite understand the value of everything, then it just is going to make less and less sense the more you get to just the one house.
Yeah.
Would you say that's accurate? So is
I
it
would say there's probably only a couple hundred people in the whole country that can do what you just said.
the
That
the large scale developments
yeah, I mean that make money. No,
that
they
actually
can
make
do.
money?
There's a bunch of people that everybody's like, oh, they're making so much money. No, I know people personally that have done. This is how you make money doing that. You own the land. You own the land.
Develop it yourself
You
to do all of
leverage
it.
really, really low interest rate banking, commercial banking, and you're able to build. You're the captured builder on these developments. So you're guaranteed to know your profit margin. You're gonna own the land outright. You're gonna subdivide it. Then you're gonna sell lots. Then you're gonna build the homes. That's how you make money. But we're talking about like,
That's you're not even a contractor technically. You're really an investor at that stage
I mean, you can
because
be.
you're
I
buying
know
an
guys who
asset
are
and then you're building it up and reselling it.
correct, but I know guys who do that. Like they have made a bunch of money. Here's what I'd say: they make a bunch of money that's life-changing money. Like 500 homes in these neighborhoods, like, upper middle class homes. They're making very low percentage margin on the homes on the work part, but they're making like all the money on the land sell because they
So
already own the land at pennies on the dollar. Then they subdivide it and they sell the lots for 100 grand a piece, and then they build the house, $700,000 house. So then yeah, and
it's
there's
not even
500 of them.
and it's also not even necessarily about the home that they're building, it's also the location. So they're betting on this
Yep.
location.
It's risk.
There's seven massive corporations building headquarters down the street. I know those people are going to need homes, so I'm going to build here. So it's like you're saying, it's more speculation on the land. That's where they make the money than it is about the home. It's not
Yep.
that they did amazing work on the home and people just want to pay more for the homes. That's not how it works. It's just that they have to put homes on it in order to capitalize, but it's really the value of the location that they were able to bet on and win
Yep.
on.
We're talking about
Yeah.
two different businesses altogether. When we're
Yeah.
talking about
So
home services, you need to, in the replacement world, siding replacement, window replacement,
yeah.
painting, roof replacement, all that stuff. That's where you want a specific avatar for your market, specific age, gender, all the stuff that's your ideal customer that writes 5-star reviews every time, and just sell to those people every single time with the highest 35 to 40% margin at least.
Yeah. No, that makes total sense. I feel like we really looked at the whole gamut here though. I feel like I tried to play devil's advocate. I feel like we were able to look at it from a lot of different angles. So that's good. Hopefully this helps some people out there and we'll wrap things up. Anything you're looking forward to this week?
I am pumped about training my new guy. I'm
Nice.
just pumped about growing in the right way. I'm growing the way that I want to grow. I don't want to just have 5 sales reps, 10 sales reps. I want to have the A plus. I have really good people on my team now.
Hmm.
I everybody enjoys working together. They're producing at a high level, and we're just gonna grow. It's gonna be a great year.
That's good. That's good. That's excellent. I'm not really looking forward to this, but I'm looking forward to getting it done. I've been working on, but I'm really trying to focus right now on our QuickBooks integration for ProLine. Very challenging. I'm learning so much about accounting, a lot more than I wanted to know about accounting. But yeah, that's what I'm working to knock out. I know it's something important for our users, so getting that done. All
Sweet.
right. And we'll wrap it up there. Thanks everybody for joining us, and we will see you next week.
Bye, everybody.